right, welcome back. We're in chapter 3 of First Timothy, and we're going to be getting into verse 8, which is going to give a little bit more information because there's a lot going on in this section too. But before we do, there's one more thing I wanted to share. One of my best friends, her name is Jen Lilly. If you've been watching Hallmark movies or GAC movies, you've seen her on some of those. But she has written a powerful anointed devotional, and it's just a little pocket one, but with the words inside for each 365 devotional thoughts, and they will really fire you up in your faith. So I encourage you, if you would like to do a reading and to have a book on top of these Bible studies, grab this one. I will also share it in my stories, and you can go to the link there. But it's a powerful devotional, and you can get started right away. Okay, so let's get back into our chapter here. 1 Timothy 3, verse 8. Now we're dealing with a lot of the aspects of the church in this chapter. Deacons, likewise, are to be men worthy of respect, sincere, not indulging in much wine, and not pursuing dishonest gain. They must keep hold of the deep truths of the faith with a clear conscience. They must first be tested, and then if there is nothing against them, let them serve as deacons. Okay, so like I said yesterday, the NIV does not such a good job with the pronouns, and it will mess you up in your understanding because you can develop a whole theology around their pronouns that they use in an NIV. Because it says deacons are to be men worthy of respect, and continues, of course, with the he. Now, if you look at it in the Greek, this is how it translates. Men are actually not even mentioned. Deacons likewise must be dignified, not double-tongued, not being given to wine or drunk, not greedy of dishonest gain, holding to the mystery of the faith with clear conscience. Also, these now let them be tested first, then let their service be blameless. Sorry, I'm having it all translate on top of this. Women deacons also must be dignified, not slanderers, clear-minded, faithful in all things. Now, this is that verse 11. In NIV, it says, in the same way, their wives are to be women worthy of respect, not malicious talkers, but temperate and trustworthy in everything. Now, in other translations, it does not use that in their wives. In a lot of translations, it'll say deaconesses or women. In the Greek, they did not have the word for deaconess. So the only way they could really connotate that was to use women to designate women deacons. So if you take it to mean the wives of deacons, then you would have to ask, well, then where is the whole context about the overseer wives? Those aren't mentioned. And then also how he is kind of put into the middle of this, and it doesn't seem to line up. But if you understand that what he's saying is in the same way, the deaconesses are to be women worthy of respect, because it just talked about right before is here's these deacons, this is how you're supposed to live. Now, as female deacons, this is what your call is. You are to be women worthy of respect, not malicious talkers, but temperate and trustworthy in everything, because it got tag on to what he was just talking about in chapter 2. So now you understand, okay, now you got things in order. You have an overseer, you have the authority given. If you're going to serve as a deaconess, then make sure that you are worthy of respect, that you're not malicious talkers, as we already learned in chapter 2. This was a common problem. That you're temperate and trustworthy in everything. You're not going to usurp authority. You're not going to try to do things out of proper order. Now, also, again, this goes back to what we were reading, or what we talked about again yesterday and last week. I will get this right. This is a new week and a whole lot's gone on. But in Romans 16:1, Paul calls Phoebe a shamash, and this is the same word that he's using here, or a shamashim, which is workers or deacons. Now, Phoebe, of course, was female, and she was in the position of a deaconess. And so she wasn't just a worker in the church, she actually held a leadership position. And these are the words that are being used, same words. So these deaconesses, these deacons were expected they're in prominent positions. You are responsible to be blameless, just as much as the prominent men, both men and women. Okay, let's continue on in verse 12. A deacon must be the husband of but one wife and must manage his children and his household well. Those who have served well gain an excellent standing and great assurance in their faith in Christ Jesus. Again, that's why it makes sense that the verse right before it is talking about the deaconess. So as a deaconess, this is how you're supposed to live. As a deacon, this is how you're supposed to live. This is how you're supposed to take care of things. This is how you set up your family. You must take care of your household. It makes a lot more sense when you read it through the Greek understanding that this is a deaconess and deacon here, not the wives of a deacon. Although I hope to come to you soon, I am writing you these instructions so that if I am delayed, you will know how people ought to conduct themselves in God's household, which is the church of the living God, the pillar and foundation of the truth. Beyond all question, the mystery of godliness is great. And how is it great? He uses a hymn here. He appeared. How is godliness great? This is the hymn that he's using here. He appeared in a body, was vindicated by the Spirit, was seen by angels, was preached among the nations, was believed on in the world, and was taken up in glory. And that is an understanding that is beyond our human finite understanding. God is infinitely greater than anything we can even think or imagine. And so we leave off chapter 3 now here, and then we'll pick up tomorrow in chapter 4 as he continues to instruct Timothy on how to deal with some of the other things that are going inside church.